Welcome everybody. Welcome to Econ 310 Price Theory. So what's going to happen today is I'm going to give a general introduction, just let you know who I am, talk a little bit about you, about the class, and then I'll go into the syllabus and we'll cover it in very fine detail. And then that'll be it for the day. So we won't start on the material until Thursday. Brief side note for those not in the class officially. So if you're on the wait list or if you're trying to get into the course, the first week of class, it's all automated. So if you're on the wait list, if people drop, the system automatically lets the next person in. Beyond that, beyond the first week, I am able to decide who is going to be let into the class or not via permission numbers, but I do honor the wait list. So in order to be able to get into the class past the first week, you have to be coming to class regularly, every single day until you get in. I'll have a sign-in sheet for those people trying to get into the class. Everybody else, you don't have to sign in. You're fine. Those trying to get into the class, you need to sign in at the end of every class. So only the people that have been signing in from day one will have a chance to get in. But again, the order of the people that will get in will be based on the wait list, and then beyond that, I will allow people that weren't on the wait list in. But if you're not on the wait list, you should get on the wait list. So at the very least, you're on the wait list. But as of today, you have a chance to get in if you continue coming to class. There is a chance, though, it might be slim, but who knows, that you come to class for the first 3 weeks, which is the amount of time that people can add and drop classes, and you don't wind up getting in. So it's a risk you have to be willing to take. I haven't had a situation where a lot of people have been turned away from a course, even having invested that much time into it, but it is possible. It has happened, and it may happen, and you never know. But again, if you want to get in, you have to come to class every single day and sign in at the end of class to demonstrate that you are dedicated to being in this class. That's the only way I can be fair about letting people in. So that's that. So we'll talk more about that at the end of the class for those of you that are in that situation, and the majority of you are not. So I'll move on from that. All right, so welcome everybody. Welcome back to school. It's the second day of school. It's my first day teaching, but this is the third class I'm teaching today. I'm teaching 4 classes today. So we've had a break, decent amount of time, 4 to 5 weeks, nice amount of time to take your mind off school, but that time is over. So it's time to transition back into school mode. It's time to really put your head back into this game. That is the only way that you can do well in school, is by just being invested in it from day one. But of course, that mental transition may not happen until maybe the second week, which is fine. But it better happen, and it better happen sooner rather than later, because as soon as you start to fall behind, that's when things go to crap. You don't want them to go to crap. You want to be able to demonstrate that you are able to succeed and do exceptionally well in a class like this and all your other classes. So make that change right now in your head, and let's get into the semester. So who am I? My name is Gabriel Exarlian. I am a PhD in economics. I earned my PhD about 1.5 years ago. I've been teaching here for 1.5 years. This is my 4th semester. As of now, I teach 4 different classes: intro, macro, price theory, and management. I'll be teaching Math 103, which is like business calculus at some point, and maybe upper division, macro, and stuff. Who knows? But for now, I've got a lot of classes on my plate. I am a local. I grew up in the Valley. Went to Pierce for a couple of years, transferred to USC, got my degree in film. In the film program, we watched films for over the last 100 years that kind of gave us a bird's-eye view of a lot of the economic realities that people throughout the world deal with. And it kind of changed my mind about what I wanted to do with my life. And so I took the steps to become an economist. So I had to take a bunch of math prerequisites, probability, statistics, and I got into the master's program at USC for econ, finished that, and then jumped right into the PhD program in Santa Cruz, UCSC, which I finished again about 1.5 years ago. So I was in grad school for 7 straight years. And 2 years prior to that, I was taking prerequisites. So I was in school for 9 years after getting my bachelor's. I know what you're going through to a much severe extent. So I can empathize with the experience that you guys are enduring here. But that is the extent of it. Like, even though I can empathize with it, like I also have to make the course what it is, and that is an upper division microeconomics course. Micro, microeconomics courses in general, but definitely upper division are challenging. They're not easy courses. There's no way I can make the course easy. It is a challenge that if you're taking on, you need to take it on head on, and you need to be invested in that if you want to do well in the class. So anyway, that's who I am. I'm eventually going to do some research. Well, I'm trying to get some research done now and publish and get a research position eventually. But right now, I'm here lecturing, and I love it. I enjoy quite a bit, and so things are going really well for me right now. This is one of my favorite courses to teach. But again, it is a challenging course. So let's talk about you now. You are a variety of people from a variety of walks of life. Some of you are econ majors, so good for you. Keep up the good work. It's a challenging discipline, but it is fruitful and it is worth your time. So good for you. But again, you have to I went through hell for a very long time. Like grad school was not fun. It was miserable, in fact. But the things I learned and like my grasp of the economy and economics has put me in a mindset where I just feel like Neo in the Matrix, like at the end of the Matrix. Like that's how it makes you feel. So it's a very powerful discipline. So my hat is off to you for those of you that are majoring in it. For the rest of you, I'm sure you're majoring in cool stuff, and I'm sure it'll take you places, and you'll have your own like awakenings, and it'll be pretty awesome as well. But I know that the other people that generally tend to take this course are finance people, because finance is either an elective or a prerequisite. Which one is it? It's an elective, right? All right, so it's an elective for finance majors, and then I think computer science folks also take this course. Yeah, so the course, there's different ways of looking at the course. One is just pure economic theory, and that's where the value lies for econ majors. For finance folks, you have to understand that even though the emphasis is on economics, all the finance models that you are eventually going to be using to make projections or be working with your clients on are all based on these economic models. So the economy is modeled from the individual units that are making decisions within it, both individual households and firms, and then that is aggregated, combined to sort of get a general idea of what the economy is doing in relation to the prices of all the assets that you are dealing with. And so that is how this class is related to finance. It gives you a very in-depth and rigorous sort of view of like what is happening in the background of these programs that you're using. Now, some of you may wind up going further in finance, which I recommend highly. I don't recommend that you stop and just like jump into the finance field with your bachelor's. I recommend that you go further and really try to grasp what it is that these models are made of, and maybe even try to inject your own ideas into the discipline, because that is really how you could wind up really being successful in that field, by really pushing that the finance field forward, because the finance field has been in a state of flux, especially over the last like 20 or 30 years since our digital age, our digital revolution occurred, and the speed at which information is being relayed is affecting the way finance is being carried out. And so if you can somehow affect that via your understanding and sort of injecting your ideas into the models to make them better at predicting outcomes, to make them better at just helping to understand the field in general, then you will be highly valued in that field, because they are always looking for a new approach, a new perspective on like finance, and ultimately, trying to sort of project what prices are going to do. But yeah, finance people, and then the computer science folks. Ultimately, a lot of what you're going to wind up doing is like computer modeling. And what this course does for you is provide you sort of insights into modeling. So I'm going to present to you the economic models that we use, and then always emphasize like the model characteristics, like the nature of the model that we're using, and that should provide you a foundation of understanding. Okay, so then, given that this is how modeling is done in economics, well, maybe I could then start modeling other things, other fields, other relationships that can then be translated into equations. It could be programmed into computers that can then be used to, project behavior patterns, etc. So even though like I'm not directly going to be talking about your specific discipline, you can gain insights from this class into your discipline, and it can help you grow to become, a computer modeler that is versatile and is able to, take, just random information and kind of like put it into like one of these like simplified, very clear-cut settings as far as instructions that a computer can understand. So that's where the relationship, that's where that connection lies for you. But I won't be emphasizing that connection, so it's up to you to kind of remind yourself of what this is about, as well as the finance folks. Like, I'm not going to be talking about finance a lot in this course. I'm talking about economics, because it is an economics course. Price theory is an intermediate microeconomics course, essentially. But again, you have to kind of remind yourself that these things that we're studying, even though you'll get lost in the models and you'll forget about how important they are to your actual field, are actually very important to your field and underlie a lot of what happens in that field that is successful and helps your field to thrive. Is there anybody that's not a finance, computer science, and economics major in this course right now? What are you guys? Marketing? Well, that's what I meant by computer science, information systems. Supply chain. Okay. What's that? What's that? Okay, cool. That's kind of sort of what I don't know. I don't know what you guys do. Same thing. Okay. So I mean, there are connections there. Again, like I am going to emphasize the economics, so it's easy for all of you that are not like directly plugged into this stuff to think, well, why am I in this course? Throughout the semester, don't let yourself get lost in the details. Kind of try to remind yourself of the value that this course has. If it's set up for you as an elective or as part of your curriculum, there is value there. Maybe I personally don't understand your discipline enough to emphasize those connections enough, but they are there, and the value in the information is there, and so hopefully that will carry you through the course. But in the end, a lot of what happens in college in general is about pushing you to become better people. And so anything that you take on is a challenge that you should just be invested in no matter what. And regardless of what that does to you as far as like the pressure and like just the difficulty of getting through it, the value in that process lies in what it will do as far as your awareness of what you're capable of. And that is the most valuable thing that you will get out of college in general. And so I'll constantly be emphasizing that throughout the semester to remind you that it's worth you putting everything you have into these challenges, because you will walk away a better person. And when you are faced with challenges that you do not even see coming, you will be able to deal with them when you get out into the world and actually try to make it. All right, so price theory, as I mentioned, is an intermediate level microeconomics course, essentially. We're going to be talking about how prices are determined in markets. We're going to talk about the demand side, the supply side. In order to do that, we have to get really specific about the models that we use to model the demand and supply side, and the various market settings that those decisions take place in. And so it's going to be basically us going through everything that you covered in your microeconomics course in the next level. The next level being taking the information you learned that was presented to you in words and in graphs and adding the equations to that, so that you're able to advance your understanding of microeconomic theory and the way that prices are determined in a more sophisticated way. B, you're able to understand like these more sophisticated technical languages a little bit better. It's not just about setting up like a basic set of intuitive principles that you get from these like basic courses. It's about understanding where those principles come from and like where the graphs come from and how you can take the relationships in those graphs to the more complicated cases that are more realistic. The reason why you're presented with that theory in like graphs, mainly in microeconomics, introductory, is because like first of all, like those relationships that actually occur in reality are a lot more complicated, have a lot more variables, and you can't represent that in a two-dimensional graph. It's not possible. And so that's just meant to provide you a basic understanding. And then this class is meant to take that further by introducing situations where you can introduce more variables than just two that affect maybe like the price of a good, and get closer to reality, but also acknowledge that no matter what, you can never get to reality because reality is too complicated. There are too many variables to take into account, and we still have to simplify reality. But still, the simplified reality that you came to understand in your introductory course is too simple. And so this takes it a little bit further. So that's ultimately what this class will be about. It will be basically taking you through that same adventure, microeconomics, in a more sophisticated way. Now, how I teach this course is I have spent a lot of time creating my own slides that are basically based on the book. So what you'll see in my slides is very close to what you'll see in the book. And I also add a lot more as far as like all the steps you need to be able to solve problems. So any of the math problems that we'll be covering, which will be a lot, and that will make up a bulk of like what I expect you to understand and be good at in this course, will be taught directly to you, whereas generally in a course like this, you're taught a bunch of theory and you're shown an example and then you're asked to like do 30 problems and then you get to the exam and there's problems you've never seen before. I won't do that to you. I'll actually show you how to do the problems in class. And what I do is I record my audio. So everything I'm saying right now is being recorded on top of what you see on the screen. And that will be a video file, which will be uploaded to Moodle. And it will be cataloged via the weeks that we cover in this course. So everything that's covered in class is recorded, and you will have that as a resource as well on top of the book. So that's my approach. My approach is to provide you this extra resource for learning, basically having me at your fingertips to be able to cover all the information as many times as you need to, which is what you need to do well in this class, cover it several times, and ideally, ultimately, to ensure success for you, because I want you all to succeed. So that's what I do. The slideshows are the cornerstone of what I do in this class. I've spent a lot of time creating them. And for the people that are invested in learning in these courses, they walk away happy because it's effective and it's clear. And that's what you need. But, part of the reason why I do that is because it's a rigorous course and the information is not necessarily intuitive. You need more resources. And you need to spend a lot of time covering those resources. So the other important component to success in this class is you putting in a lot of time. If you're not doing that, then what I do isn't going to be as effective as it needs to be. So it's a two-way street here. I'm doing my part. I've been told by a lot of folks that what I do is good, and I'm happy with what I do. So you need to do something, whatever it is, whether it's what you're already doing or something different, to make sure that you're getting your part right so that you get what you need to out of this course. So how you succeed in this course is repetition. You come to class, you watch me talk about this stuff, go through the lecture, take notes, go back home, go through the lecture again, fill in the gaps and the stuff you didn't take notes on. Still not getting it? Read the book. Still not getting it? Watch the lecture again. Again, until you get it. Repetition. That's how you get this stuff. All right, so let's talk about the way the class works. So I'm going to go through the syllabus and how I run my course, which is very particular to me. And so I expect you to get this stuff, not necessarily this minute, it's being recorded, like but you'll have the lecture as a reference. You'll have the syllabus hard copy as a reference. There's a lot of resources available to you to kind of remind you of how I need things to be done in order for them to function properly. Because I deal with a lot of people, and if you're not behaving like responsible adults, like doing what I need you to do for everything to work, then things go bad and chaos ensues, and we can't have chaos because then we get presidents like Donald Trump. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding, actually. That's actually what happens. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about just some of the important minutia. Professor logistics. So I have an office in this building, 4th floor, 4243. There's a phone number without voicemail. You can call it. I won't answer likely because I'm never in my office. I work part-time, so I'm only here when I am teaching, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm not here all of those days either. So the best way to get a hold of me is via my office hours. So I have office hours on Tuesdays from 10:45 to 12, and also on Thursdays from 10:45 to 12, and I didn't put it on the slides for some weird reason, but I also have it on Tuesdays from 5 to 6:30 p.m. as well. So as far as office hours go, office hours are an opportunity for you to come talk to me. Like if you have to talk to the professor about something, come talk to me during my office hours. That's what it's for. We're only supposed to give you an hour, but I give you the 4 that I have for all my classes just to provide you flexibility. Office hours aren't for me to re-lecture stuff to you or explain stuff to you. That's what the class is for. Come to class. I'm here 2.5 hours a week. I'm presenting the information to you. You have questions? Ask me. That's what class is for. What happens generally is like people, like, they don't go to class that often, and then right before the exam, I'm going to go to the professor's office and have him re-explain this. No. I'm not going to facilitate that kind of behavior. You have to be on top of your stuff. You've got to learn this material. I do my job in class. I record the lectures for you, which I'm not mandated to do. It is not a mix, like a hybrid course. It's something that I want to do for you, and I do it for you. So if you're doing your job, either you're in class, watching my lectures, taking notes so you know where all the topics are. You can find them easily on my videos to get the explanation you're missing. Or if you're not coming to class, you should be watching the lectures at home as though you were in class. Everything else is off, no distractions. You're watching the screen, you're listening to me, you're taking notes like you would in class. That's the only way it can be effective. If you're not doing that, then you're not doing what you should be doing. And then for you to come and ask me to spend more time explaining and doing things that I've already done for you, I think is unfair. So don't expect it from me. I'm not that professor. I'm not the professor that's just going to hold your hand and say, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want whenever you want it. I'm not. I come to class. I don't generally miss classes, so I will always be here for the lectures. I record them for you. They are there. Everything you need to do well in the class, I make available to you. And another thing that's really important is you need to be able to get through difficult challenges on your own. That is a really important thing that you need to really master while you're in college. Because out there, if you're not self-sufficient, if you're not a self-starter, if you're not the kind of person that can figure things out on your own, if you're the person that's like, how do you do this? How do you do this? Even though you've been explained 20 times or the information's available for you. How do you do this? What do you do? If you're that person, then the people that you want opportunities from, the kind of opportunities you want, they're not going to be given to you. People, they're just going to put you aside. The world is unforgiving. There are a lot of people that want very few things in this world that are of value. And if you do not present yourself as being valuable, as being somebody that can enhance the experience versus pull it down, then nobody's going to want you around, and you're not going to get anything out of this whole experience. You're going to go to college, and it's going to mean nothing because you're going to wind up somewhere where you're just not going to enjoy yourself. People are not going to give you the opportunities you want. You need now to realize that any big challenge you take on, you have to conquer it on your own. If you've spent a day trying to learn some material and you still haven't gotten it, spend another day, and then another day, and then another until you get it. Hours and hours and hours is what is required to learn difficult, challenging, foreign material to you. That is how you learn things. I am a very strong believer in the fact that I don't think people are inherently different as far as like their ability to learn. Unless there's something physically wrong with their brain, everybody has the capacity to learn as much as everybody else. And if you're not learning as fast as somebody else, then something's going on inside of you that's stopping you from learning as fast as somebody else. Does that mean you can't learn it? No. It means that you need to spend more time learning it. 3 more hours, 8 more hours, 2 more days, whatever it takes. What happens is like people take on courses like this, they get behind, they do bad in an exam, and they think, oh, well, I'm just not capable of doing this. And then that idea stops them from doing well. Or you've come into this experience already believing, I'm bad at math. I'm not as good at math as these other people. No, these other people have been doing math forever, and you haven't been doing it enough. You need to sit down and do it again and again and again until you get it. And you still haven't gotten it, do it again. You still haven't gotten it, do it again. More time. That's how you learn difficult things. Like if you just give up, in a class like this, if we're covering a lot of material for like 6 weeks and then there's an exam and you're spending like 3 days trying to learn everything, you're not going to learn it. And you're not going to do well, and then you're going to have this idea that like you're just not good at what we do in this class. You're incapable of doing well in it. And that's not true. So you need to come to terms with the fact that A, you are fully capable of being great, and B, it takes hard work and huge amounts of time and effort to be great. And that is it. And if you're not committed to that, you won't be great. That's it. And if you haven't accomplished something at the level that you want to accomplish it, then you need to accept that you just haven't put in enough time. That's it. You need to come to terms. I made the wrong decisions here, here, and here, and that led to this result, and I will avoid that in the future. And that is it. Don't let like the silliness of society, all these silly ideas about people being better than others get in the way of you just like knowing that you are fully capable of getting anything done at the highest level, and then just committing yourself to doing it and investing as much time as it takes to getting that done. All right, that's my office hours. All right, so there's a textbook, Microeconomics and Behavior, 9th edition by Robert H. Frank. There's also a homework system, Connect. The homeworks are simple on there. They're like 10-question multiple choice sets. They're not very difficult because the real homework is for you to go home and practice the problems that I cover in class. That is the real homework. Once you get a chance to look at my practice exams, you'll see that most of the exams are made up of these problems. And so the only way you're going to do well in them is to really like practice them and get good at them. I'm going to cover them in class. You're going to have the recordings, but then it's your job to go home and practice them. That's why they're called practice problems. You'll see them as we get to them. Anyway, to register for the homework system, the syllabus, the digital version, is on Moodle. So there'll be a live link on Moodle that you'll click on, and it will take you to this screen here. If you are part of the Connect system from a prior class, you would simply log in, and then it'll take you through the process of registering for this specific course. If you are not registered, then it'll just have you register now. So then you'll be asked to put in your email address, and then you'll be asked to enter a registration code. So if you purchase the hard copy of the book at the bookstore, you'll enter the registration code that comes with the book. So there's a bundled package at the bookstore for the book and the registration code for Connect. Or you can just buy the access online. Unfortunately, if you just buy the access online, it does not give you access to the digital book. It just gives you access to the I apologize for that. It's the system, it's the company, it's how they operate. But if you just want to buy the homework system, you would click buy online, and then you can purchase it for $100. And then if you want, and then to get the textbook, which you should get, if you don't want to pay the big bucks at the bookstore, which by the way, you can get a portion of back by selling the used book at the end of the semester. So that is a mitigating factor to that reality. You can look for a used book online, Amazon. There's a website. It's called Abe Books. They sell international editions, which they're not supposed to do in the U.S., but they do. And those are cheaper. They also have used versions on there as well. So check out that site. See if maybe you can find a cheap version on there. You can maybe use an earlier version as well, as long as you follow the chapters that are that I'm covering in the class. You should be fine. Question here. This one, this edition I think came out 3 years ago. Are the online publics required? Yes, they are required. Yeah, I need something to verify you're doing something outside of class. So yeah. So that's the next thing I was going to mention. There's a 2-week free trial period. So if you're on the wait list, you don't know if you're getting in yet, you can at least get started on stuff if you want. All right, so that's the Connect stuff. If you have any kind of technical issues at all with Connect throughout the semester, don't contact me. I'm not Connect customer support. You are paying Connect money. They have people that work for them. Contact Connect. So at the bottom of each page, you'll see a Contact Us link. Click on that. You'll get either a form or there's a phone number with very flexible times. You can call them and just let them know you're having a problem. Generally, you won't have that problem, but if there is a problem, don't contact me, contact them. All right, so that's the homework stuff, the book. All right, let's talk about the lectures and the reading and attendance. So, like I already mentioned, attendance is not mandatory. I do not take attendance. You do not need to come to class, but you should come to class. And if you're not coming to class, again, you should be watching my lecture videos as though you came to class. Like, do not fall behind. Do not, casually watch my videos. It is a bad idea. It's a good idea to read the sections covered in class before the corresponding lectures. The slides are based on the book and will be made available after each lecture on Moodle. So after I lecture, so for you guys the same day, later in the day, I will post the video, I will post a PDF of the slides, and I will also post a slideshow file of the slides. So if you don't want to listen to me, just want to look at the slides, you have the option. You'll have various options for everything that I present in class available to you on Moodle. The slides are the primary source of information for the course, not the book. The slides are, because I have more stuff in the slides than you'll see in the book, the problems and whatnot. And the textbook is supplementary to them. So the textbook is just meant to support your understanding of what is covered in the course. All right, so exams. So yes, we are in college. Yes, I have to test your understanding of what we cover. So there are going to be 2 midterm exams and a final exam. So 3 exams in the course. The exam dates are listed in the lecture schedule that is at the end of your syllabus, which I'll also cover here. Makeup exams will not be given. Students will only be excused from either the first or second midterm at my discretion. The only legitimate reasons are basically medical emergencies. You must have a medical emergency. I always mention this. Last semester, somebody brought me like a chiropractor letter. Like, oh, he had a chiropractor appointment. No, I failed that person on the exam. Come to the exams. Like, I don't expect you to come to class on a regular basis. You should be adults about it. You should make the right decisions for yourself. Come to class on a regular basis. The people that come to class on a regular basis wind up doing better. Not all of them, because if they're not doing work outside of class, then that's not enough. But the people that are coming to class regularly and then doing the work outside of class wind up doing the best in my classes. Just something to think about. But you don't have to come to every class. You have to come to class on 3 days. Midterm 1, midterm 2, and the final. Have to. End of story. I can't create a brand new exam for you. It takes me 2 days to create these exams. I'm not going to do it for you. So keep that in mind. A physician must document your illness, and I should be able to verify the physician's note, which I will verify. Going to the doctor because you feel sick. Oh, I feel kind of sick. I'm going to go to the emergency room on the day of the exam. No, that's not a medical emergency. I have been under the worst conditions, and I have gone to I've never missed one exam. In the 8,003 years that I went to school, I did not miss one exam, okay? Do not miss exams. Jury duty is not an excuse either. You can postpone jury duty till summer break. If you have a legitimate reason for an exam being missed, you stopped breathing and you were rushed to the hospital and your mom called me or whomever, yeah, you had a legitimate reason. I will allow you to miss an exam and I will have the final absorb the credit for that exam. And obviously, it seems as though there's an incentive there for you to try to get away with not coming to an exam. It seems that way, but you're wrong because, again, I'm not going to simply allow you to skip an exam on some flimsy excuse. I will not allow it. And I know I'm not talking to the majority of you, and I have to be talking with this tone because there are people that try to get away with things all the time, and I'm talking to those people, and I know it's not the majority of you, so I apologize for you having to listen to this speech. The final must be taken in order to pass the course and will only be rescheduled for major illness or other well-documented emergencies. All right, the homework, again, like I said, they're pretty simple assignments. They'll be mostly weekly. On Connect, you would click on the home icon once you access, once you log in, and it'll take you to a page like this where it'll say homework 1, homework 2, whatever. Homework will be due on Sunday nights by midnight. I will drop your 3 lowest homework scores, so there will be no late assignments. So that policy is meant to just provide you with flexibility in case something gets in the way and stops you from doing a homework assignment. It's dropped. You'll be fine. Don't use this as an excuse to not do homework 3 times and then come to me later, oh, I couldn't do my 4th homework assignment because of this. I don't care. I'm not going to give you an extension. I have a flexible policy. Be responsible with it. There's only 1 attempt because I'm going to tell you right now I have solutions for you that I provide prior to you doing the homework. The final is not cumulative, no. So I've provided you video solutions to the homework assignments, which you can find on Moodle. So for each assignment, there's an individual video for each individual problem. It explains how to do the problem and why the problem is solved the way it is. Again, like my policy, my approach is like I don't want to put you in a position where you're like pulling your hairs out trying to figure things out at home. Like you're either the type of person that is here to learn or you're not. If you're here to learn, I want you to have everything you need to learn. I want you to have my lectures. I want you to have the solutions to the homework. I want you to have it all because I want you to take it upon yourself to like do everything you can to really get the stuff down so you can do well in the exam. The exam is made up of some true-false questions, but mostly open answer like the math stuff that we're going to cover in the course. The true-false stuff will mainly come from these homework assignments though. So just keep that in mind. There's a paper that you have to write. That's not something that I would choose to do. It's university mandated for this course. So you'll be writing a 2,500 word paper, Times New Roman font, size 12. That will be a collection of what are called 3 economic naturalist observations. So throughout the book, you'll see these economic naturalist observations. I'll cover a few in the first couple of weeks. And basically, what they are is like observations about aspects of life that you see through the filter of economic theory that aren't obvious unless you're using economic theory. So as an economic naturalist sees the economics in all aspects of life, you have to identify 3 different ways that the economic theory you learn from 3 different chapters exists in the nuances of life. You may come up with your own economic naturalist observations, or you can just expand upon the ones that are in the chapter. So if there's a brief one like this one's talking about the prices of goods that change in different seasons. And it only provides a small amount of information. Expand on it. Do a little research, add some information, write a 2 to 3 page paper on it. So I'll explain what I meant by that last statement in a second. So in your observations, you'll be required to use at least 1 outside cited resource for each chapter you choose. So 3 minimum citations for the paper using MLA format. So throughout the semester, you're going to essentially write a rough draft for the paper, encompassed in what I call mini papers. So there'll be 3 mini papers, 2 to 3 pages each, corresponding to 3 different chapters that you choose for your analysis, immediately following the covering of the respective chapters. So I'll finish, let's say, chapter 1, and then I'll put up a submission option on Moodle that'll be a week out, that will allow you to write a paper on the chapter we covered. You don't have to write a paper on every chapter we cover. You only have to write 3, but you're going to see like the due dates for all the chapters pop up on your Moodle. Don't worry about that. You only have to write 3. 3 is all you need. So again, 3 different chapters, 3 different economic naturalist observations. And again, they will make up essentially a rough draft of your final paper. So again, you'll have a week following the conclusion of the corresponding chapter's lecture to turn in your mini paper digitally via Moodle. So like you'll see an option like this to submit it. That's where you'll submit it. There's one slot on Moodle at the very top for an open chapter mini paper that you can use anytime. So let's say we're halfway through the semester and you want to write a paper on chapter 5 because you didn't get a chance to when we covered it, but you still are interested in doing so, you can. So I give you one option to kind of choose any chapter at any time throughout the semester. Beyond that, you need to keep up with the due dates for the chapters. The people that write these like early in the semester, they wind up being very happy because essentially they've covered the paper already. They're done with the paper at the end of the semester. You put the 3 chapters together, you throw in an introduction, a conclusion, and you're done. It takes you an hour to put it together at the end. So just try not to leave it till the very end, because if you leave it till the very end, then it just kind of negates the effectiveness of the whole system. Yeah.
For each specific chapter, does it need to be like a 3-paragraph essay or
2 to 3 page paper
for each?
for 3 chapters that you choose throughout the semester.
So you're saying all these mini papers, you can combine them for the final one?
Yeah. So the final. No, well, there'll be like the 3 chapters that will make up your final paper, and the final paper's thesis is essentially, I am an economic naturalist. This is what an economic naturalist is. These are the 3 economic naturalist observations I made. Then you put the 3 together, and then you just write a conclusion mirroring your introduction. I do not, because I don't have time to do that. So I just expect you to turn them in. At the end, I read the papers before, when I grade them, when the final paper is done. So you do not need to turn in a hard copy of the mini papers to me. Just submit them digitally. The 3 mini papers will not be graded based on content, but will adversely affect your grade if you do not turn in 3 of them by the end of the semester, by the end of the last due date. I'll simply be looking to give you credit for completing them on time, but do not think you can game the system. If you turn in a document that's not a mini paper meeting my criteria in the hopes that I won't notice, you will earn 0 points in the entire paper and may even fail the course. I've had people in the past do that where they think I don't look at them, so they turn in like a paragraph or just like a blank document and thought, oh, he's not going to catch it. I did catch it, and it wasn't pretty for them. So don't play games. Don't play games at all, ever, in college. It's not worth your time. Trying to survive on shortcuts, bad choice no matter what. Yes?
Okay, so the individual 3 mini papers will not be graded individually, but they will as a whole, and adversely they will.
So you're going to get some credit for it. I'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, it's not as complicated as it seems, but it's something different because it's my own thing, but it does work. So the final paper will be a compilation of the 3 mini papers, in which, again, you'll include an introduction, tying the 3 mini papers together under an umbrella thesis, which I already talked about, and a conclusion that ties up the paper. The final paper will need to be submitted digitally to me on Moodle. You'll have a submission option towards the end of the course. And also, I will need a hard copy of that final paper as well. So I will not consider it turned in unless I get both a digital and a hard copy, because I need to need to read it. I'm not going to print out, all your papers, and it's just I need you to do that for me. So on top of having to come here 3 different times for the exams, and of course all the other times for the lectures that you should choose to come to, but the 3 different times that you have to be here, you also have to come and turn that paper into me. You don't have to do it on the day that it's due. You can slip it under my door before then. I'll give you reminders of that stuff before when the due date's coming up or whatever. But nonetheless, I do expect you to turn in a hard copy and a digital copy of your paper. If I don't receive both versions in the day they're due, then you will receive credit, but you'll receive half credit. I will cut your credit in half. And each day the paper is late, you'll lose 25% of the credit. The completed paper will be closely scrutinized and graded based on content. So the completed paper will be read and will be graded. Spelling, grammar, and overall organization will be important. This is a university requirement. They're just making sure that you can write, which is a very important skill that you should be focusing on, because that is one of the most valuable things you need getting out there to thrive. So just make sure you can write a paper, organize it well, ideas flow. It's not just a bunch of gibberish. It's organized, it's thought out.
I know you said you won't grade our or give feedback on our individual mini papers, but if we do come to you and ask you to look it over before we hand in our final draft, will you do that?
If there's time, but there's usually not, unfortunately. I usually don't have time for that. But you'll understand as we go further that it's not as bad. It's not as challenging as it seems. Like, it can be very simple as long as you are using the theory in a way that makes sense rather than in a way that doesn't make sense, and that's it. Like, if you're doing that, then you'll be fine. And you don't have to use everything in a chapter. You pick and choose the things that make sense for the paper you're writing. So the course grade. So each of the 3 exams are worth 20% of your grade, 60% total. Homework is worth 10% of your grade. So just those assignments that you knock out, 10% of your grade. The paper is 20% of your grade. And how that breaks down is the actual final paper I read is worth 14% of your grade. And then the additional 6% is awarded for just the timely submission of the 3 mini papers. So you submit the 3 mini papers, automatically 6% done. Then the 14% will vary depending on content and how well you wrote the paper, etc. And the final component of your grade is communication, which I'll talk about in a second. That's 10% of the grade. Letter grades will correspond approximately to the following ranges, but it generally tends to be a little bit more generous around this category because I don't like to fail a lot of people. Some professors are okay with failing half the class. I'm not okay with that. I would never do that. But the way things work out, unless everybody's doing exceptionally well, getting A's and B's on all the exams, which I hope you do, please do. If you do not, then the exams will be curved. And what that means is that I target a C average for the class. And so some people wind up at the top, some people wind up at the bottom, some people wind up in the middle. When you have a curved class, there's always going to be people at the bottom. Don't let yourself be that person. Don't let you fall into that category. If you're looking to get an A or a B in this class, it's very doable. You just have to work really hard. You have to really earn those grades. You will not be given those grades. You will not be curved to a B or an A. You must earn a B or an A. End of story. But people do, and I give them out, and it's great. And then everybody else kind of winds up in the middle. I know that for business students or people in econ or, I don't know, in a lot of disciplines, a C minus is considered failure. So I tend to try to stay away from C minuses. So I'll either give you a C or I'll just jump straight to a D. And so if you're close to a C, I'll give you the C. So I'll generally do give the C's. But there are always some D's and F's. I gave out a couple of C minuses last semester because I thought I knew the kids were cheating basically. So they got hurt because of that. But generally my policy is not to do that. I would never. There's such an arbitrarily nonsensical ultimately distinction between a C and a C plus, a C and a C minus that just doesn't make sense for me to give out C minuses if it's going to mean that you have to retake a course. It's absurd. All right, this communication policy part is really important to me because it helps the class run smoother. And it makes my life easier when I'm dealing with hundreds of people and I'm trying to get research done and all sorts of other things done. So I'm not talking about participation here. People often say, are we talking about participation? No, not participation, communication. Communication is one of the most important skills that you need to cultivate here in order to be successful once you earn your degree. Most of you have grown up in this era of very easy digital communication. I'm the generation right before you, so I kind of grew up in the transition into that era. But you have grown up in that era and become very comfortable being very comfortable with the way you communicate with your friends and family, via emojis and acronyms and broken sentences, which is cool. I love it. I love this whole new language that has sprouted up in the social media world. It's great. It has no place in the professional sphere, though. Like, you need to be able to kind of switch from that to the other. Like, it's not okay for you to just like keep communicating in that way no matter what. Like, that is problematic, and it will set you apart in a bad way when you're trying to get out there and succeed. Like, you need to be able to, in a professional environment, be succinct about what you're talking about, clear, organized. That's very important, and that's part of what I'm hoping to accomplish with the communication part of my grade. So the policy is meant to help prepare you for professional communication standards that you'll be expected to adapt to in a variety of professional settings. Electronic communication with me in this class will be done exclusively through a message board. It's called Piazza. It's an academic message board. It was developed, I think, at MIT. People at MIT used it. Ivy Leagues used it. Berkeley used it. A professor that I TA'd for at Santa Cruz used it. I liked it. I've been using it, and it works. It's great. It's really great for us to be able to relay information to each other. Do not ever email me. Never email me directly. Never. I get emailed every time you post something on Piazza, so it's the same as you emailing me when you post something on Piazza. You can post questions there, which can be answered by your fellow students as well as myself. It also provides you the option to post anonymously to your fellow students, but all posts are transparent to me, so don't think that you can get away with saying certain things to your fellow students. I will know who you are. If you have a personal issue that you need to talk with me about, then I ask that you just post an anonymous request on Piazza to discuss your personal issue. You're posting anonymously, be very general about it. Oh, I have a personal issue with respect to my family emergency. I have a personal issue with respect to a medical problem, etc. Can I email you? And then I'll say, yes, please email me directly. And that is when we will email directly. Beyond that, do not email me, or else I have hundreds of people. When's the final? What's the question? This, that? No, I can't. You have to be considerate of my time as I am considerate of your time by providing you with all these materials. So please abide by it. But of course, it will hurt your grade if you don't. So again, personal issues, either you post that on Piazza or you're free to discuss it with me during my office hours, which is what office hours are for. You have a personal issue, come talk to me. Let's talk. That's what I'm there for. I come to class 2.5 hours a week. At the end of class, come talk to me. I'm right here. Let's talk. If you have a problem, let's talk. So just quick rundown of how this thing works so that you know. And again, this is being recorded. You don't have to memorize everything I'm talking about with respect to how all this works. It's all recorded. This lecture is going to be online. I also have individual videos that explain all these little things if you need quick references. Anyway, this is the Piazza main screen. There's 4 tabs up here: Q&A, resources, statistics, manage class. We only use the Q&A part, so that's all you have to worry about, and it is this screen here. Below that is like a set of folders that correspond to like the main topics we'll be talking about, like homework assignments or midterms. So that'll help you to filter out the questions down here. Below that are some more filtering options: unread, updated, unresolved, following. Or you click this cog here, and then it gives you some more filtering options. If you want to post a new post, you click new post there. If you need to search through the existing post to find a question that maybe you have, see if somebody else already asked it, you just search there. So to click a new post, you click new post, you'll get the screen here. You need to put your post into one of the folders. So it's either about a homework assignment, a midterm, or it's about the way the class runs, which goes under logistics, or it's unrelated to any of those things. You click other for that. Designating the correct you need to designate the correct folder in order for the post to go through and then be easily found. This column over here just catalogs all the posts, so you can scroll down to look at the older to the newest posts. If you click on a post, it'll open up on the main window on the right, and then you can scroll down to respond to it or scroll down to see how I've responded to it. I also have the option to give the official instructor answer. Anyone has the ability to respond to a post, and I have the option to endorse your answer. So if I see somebody's answered something and I think it's the right answer, I'll endorse it. If it's not, I'll say, oh, no, hey, no, it's actually this, whatever. To register for Piazza, there's a link on the syllabus. I think it's the 3rd page, which covers my entire communication policy. It's just one page if you ever need to reference it. Anyway, there's a hot link there on the digital version. Click on that. You can't register on the phone, though. That's the only thing. You cannot register on the phone. There's an app on the phone that you can access Piazza from, but you cannot register on the phone. So you need to register on a PC. Once you click on this link to register, you'll be taken to the registration page where it'll be self-explanatory. So your communication grade is calculated based on a few factors. One is you need to register for Piazza. Again, this is not participation. You don't need to do anything, but you do need to register on there in case you do need to use it. If you haven't registered on Piazza by the third week, by the end of the third week, you will lose half your communication grade. So don't make that silly mistake. Register sooner rather than later. Another criteria, post professionally on Piazza. Each post should pertain to only one question. So if you have multiple questions, start multiple posts. You have questions about exam 3, question 5, and question 6. Start those separately because somebody may have a question about 5 also and 6 also separately. And they should be able to easily find those answers versus trying to figure out what the answer is in the jumbled mess of like a lot of things in one post. That's how you keep things organized in a professional communication environment. In your personal lives, do whatever you want, but in a professional work environment, people don't want their time wasted. Time is money, opportunity cost. We'll talk about that. Each post should be labeled correctly in the title as well as the folder you categorize it in. The title is basically the place where you want to put as much information as possible, as succinctly and clearly as possible. All right, I have a question about homework 3. What about homework 3? Question 4. Homework 3, question 4 should be your title. How does the communication grade work? That should be your title. Exam 2, I have a question. What question? Oh, exam 2, question 3. Okay. I have a question about the exam. Which exam? Exam 2. Which question? Question 3. Okay, exam 2, question 3. Just be very specific. It helps everybody. Anyway, so a couple more examples there. If you can't find a relevant folder, there's one, again, that says other, so you can put your post in other. Before you post a question, just make sure it hasn't already been asked. Do a quick search. If your question has been asked and the answer does not cover your issue, then post a follow-up on the same thread. Don't start a new thread for the same topic because then it gets confusing. Which one's the right one? Just keep it all in one place so that it's easy to find so people don't get confused and you save time. Questions and answers on Piazza should be limited to the topics in any particular thread. So if you're reading through a thread and you have a question about something that is not necessarily related, start a new thread. Because then it's like you're hiding information that people could use, but there's no way to find it. So just be mindful of that. You should directly email, again, okay, so third criteria. You should directly email me only when I instruct you to after you have asked me to email because of a personal issue. So that is the only time. If you post something if you email me directly, then I will respond and say, I need you to post this on Piazza and your communication grade has been marked down by a point. I mean, it's just, I got to do that or else my life becomes chaos. Posting only professional comments. It's okay to have personal feelings about what you're enduring in this class and the semester and whatever. If you have feelings about stuff, that's normal. You don't need to tell us what you're feeling about that stuff in this environment. You can talk to your friends about it. You can talk to your friends about it on social media. You don't need to talk about it in the class. We don't need to start a discussion about how much everybody hates how hard the class is. Everybody knows how hard the class is. It's just the nature of the class. Done. That kind of thing is just, there's a place for it. Nobody's saying you can't feel this way. Nobody's saying don't talk about these things. There's just a place and time to talk about these things. This message board is not it. So again, if you want to have discussions about opinions, do it somewhere else. Also, I send emails from Moodle at the end of each class telling you, hey, I've posted the lectures and here's a few reminders of some of the important stuff going on in the class. Don't ever respond to that. I get some responses sometimes that are completely unrelated to the actual things that I'm talking about. It's silly. It's ridiculous, in fact. Just that will also hurt your grade. That's like you emailing me. And sixth criteria for the communication grade, keep up with the information that I'm communicating to you. I have a lot of resources online. Again, I send you those emails. You should be coming to class every day. I don't force you to come to class every day, but at the very least, do me the favor of keeping up with what I'm communicating to you. I'm talking every day when I start class about what's happening in the class. I ask, are there any questions about anything? I talk about, there's a forthcoming this, there's a this due, papers coming up, exam is this time, whatever. This is what you should bring to the exam, blah, blah, blah. I talk about these things. So if you're not doing your part by coming to class, take a moment to at least listen to the first part of the lecture so you catch up, or read my emails, which usually have that information as well. If not, then you're telling me that my time is not important, only your time is important, and you deserve to have the information when it's convenient to you, and that's just not how this works. So you need to understand that, yeah.
So in regards to Piazza, is that just a means of communicating, or is it something we have to use every week?
No, it's a means of communicating. When you need to communicate, that's where you do it. You don't have to do anything. If you're helping other people out, though, by answering questions, I could look on that positively in the end, but it's not something you have to do. You also have to be current on all information that's announced in class, usually at the start of each class. If you have a question about how the class is run, the first place you want to check is the syllabus. That's usually where the answer will lie. If the answer is not there, the second place you should check is the news forum on Moodle. So this news forum on Moodle catalogs all the emails that I send you guys. So if you click on that, you'll see a list of all the emails by date and just like the topic. So it'll be easy for you to catch up on the stuff I've been communicating to class if you've fallen behind for whatever reason. If you don't find your answer on the news forum, then go to Piazza and search for your question. If your question hasn't been answered, then post a new question. So syllabus, news forum, Piazza. Do your work. Do your part of this before you expect other people to do things for you, because that is how you thrive in a professional environment. That's how you will do well outside of this environment. You need to start doing that now. If you have a question about the material, do a search for a similar question on Piazza. If it's not been answered, post a new question. All right, Moodle resources. So like I mentioned, there's stuff on Moodle. So you're thinking, Piazza, Connect, so much. I don't know where all this stuff is. I'm going to have to go through all. No, you don't. It's fine. I have it all together for you at the top of Moodle. So anytime you're going to start working on this class, open up the Moodle page. Here's the syllabus. Here's a link to our Piazza class page, our Piazza class message board. Here's a link to our Connect homework system. And then here's a link to the news forum. So everything you need is in one place. Go from there. When you are working on this class, have this open. Everything's covered. There's that. All right. So, and then I also, if you don't want to go back to the first lecture and just kind of to remind yourself of how all this works, I've also made individual small videos explaining all the little things. So here's some Connect instructional videos, registering for Connect, where to find the homework on Connect. Here's some videos relating to Piazza and communication, registering for Piazza, how the Piazza interface works, how to post correctly on Piazza, communication policy explained. And if you're unsure about the paper and the mini paper, how that works, here's a video explaining that. So there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of ways for you to inform yourself of the things you need to in this class. So I expect you to do that. I will be in class, though, twice a week. Come to class. I'll say, are there any questions? You can ask me there as well. But if you're just arbitrarily asking a question on your own time about something that's been answered 5 times, not going to look so good, folks. Anyway, also on Moodle, we've got exam files. So there's a practice exam for each of the exams in the class. It'll give you an idea of how you're going to be tested. Some of the questions may be on the exam, some of them may not be. But essentially, they're just there as a reference for you to just understand how I'm going to be testing you and how you should be thinking about the material. All right. Also, there's links for submitting the open chapter mini paper submission. So again, like that one mini paper that you can write at any time throughout the semester on any chapter, you can submit up there. The submission option is always up there. As the semester unfolds, the lecture files will be posted as I conclude them in the calendar portion of the Moodle page below the top section. Simply scroll down. So when you get to that calendar section at the bottom, all the lectures will be on there by week. Really easy to find any information you need per lecture. And you'll also find the submission post for the mini papers there that will be posted as soon as the lecture of each chapter is complete. All right, just a quick rundown of what we're covering. So the first 6 weeks we'll cover 5 chapters, basically covering the demand side of the market, a lot of issues relating to that. And then there'll be 5 homework assignments that you'll need to do on Connect, and there'll be a midterm on the 28th of February, Tuesday. Then we will start the second part of the course, and we'll start looking at the supply side of the market, modeling the production process that then can tell us something about firms' costs, and then to be able to identify how all of that affects the prices that are set in markets. The costs need to be very specific to the type of environment that a firm is operating in. So once we have the framework set up, we go into the most competitive environment possible and the least competitive environment possible. And there's 4 homework assignments, there's a midterm, and then finally we cover the last part of the course in which we get into the more sort of practical cases where we look at the in-between cases of of the type of markets that firms can operate in, and just talk a little bit more about the costs that they incur and the inputs that they use, and just a couple of ancillary last topics discussed in the final lecture to kind of tie up the course. All, again, falling under the umbrella of microeconomics, things that you've already covered once in your life at some point. And again, we're just going to be covering it again, basically as though you don't know it, and then kind of building up from that further than you've ever gone before. And then 5 homework assignments there. Paper will be due on Tuesday, the 9th of May. And then there'll be a final exam on the 18th, and then we'll say goodbye to each other. Are there any questions about anything? All right, so I know that like it's tough like getting back into school after like having a break, and school is tough in general. Take it one day at a time, but just like you have to be invested in it like right now. So start to be invested right now. Hope you have a good couple of days. I will see you on Thursday. If you're not registered for the class, if you're on the wait list and not registered, you must sign in. I'll see everybody on Thursday. Have a good one.